Okay, so I'm just going to come out and say it. This isn't exactly the video I planned for releasing as my big comeback for YouTube, but the more I work on my two other big series, the more I realise it's going to take a while to get the first couple of episodes ready to go. Footage grabbing is a tedious process at the best of times, and when you need specific footage from specific games, from specific consoles, you need specific software and equipment to do that. And while I sort out that little issue, I decided to release something to both satisfy the people on my socials who have been teasing with my creative projects, and to satisfy my own need to just release, something. Which leads us to this little side idea I had lying around. Behold, Rambles, a series of hopefully shorter, more bite-sized videos where I indulge my hyperfixations for a few minutes. First up on the agenda for today, Yu-Gi-Oh!, specifically my gateway into this franchise, GX. I know that GX, specifically the English dub, has a bit of a reputation with the fanbase, but I just have a lot of fondness for it and this era of Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole. It was what got me into the game all the way back in 2006, and when you compare it to the previous anime series, it was kind of the era that helped both mold the franchise and game into the form it would take for years to come. For better and for worse. This was the year that archetypes reigned, the whole idea of deck building started to take on a fair bit more strategy rather than just seemingly kit bashing to fit a certain theme. And this isn't me just throwing shade at the side characters and arc villains of duel monsters. Even Yuki, Joey, and Kaiba were doing this, that's how the game worked back then. But thanks to archetypes taking more prominence, we started seeing much more varied deck types and dueling strategies, and giving the extra deck, or as it was known back then, fusion deck, a lot more utility. As thanks to the increased prominence of archetypes, a lot of these started using fusions as a way of bringing out their boss monsters. At the centre of all of this was protagonist of GX, Jaden Yuki. No, I'm not calling him Judai just because that's his name in the original Japanese dub. Jaden is the name I knew him by, and what most people from my generation who watched GX as kids knew him by, so that's the name I'm sticking with. Jaden's elemental heroes were the poster children for this new era of archetype dominance, with them seemingly pulling new elemental hero fusions out of nowhere that just so happen to have the effect he needs to either win the duel or get out of a tricky situation. Now, insane luck, ridiculous anime logic, and top-decking shenanigans have always been a part of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime series, but with Jaden's case, it kind of felt a bit more egregious. Especially when it came to some of the fusions he only used once or twice, sometimes only using them in really low-stakes duels. But this isn't a case like Duel Monsters, where defying fate or manipulating the odds is literally one of Atem's abilities granted him by the Millennium Puzzle, nor is this the case like the Shining Draw in Zexal, that literally creates new cards perfectly tailored to the situation. For the most part, these are regular cards used by a guy with either no special abilities, or the ones he does have aren't applicable to this situation. For the most part, all of these are physical cards that Jaden has in his deck. So, how many does he have? And does he have an extra deck that breaks the size limit for one? And yes, the size limit would apply. The anime has been shown to update decks and playstyles due to the updated rules of the real-life card game. For example, characters stopped using Pot of Greed when it got banned, and Playmaker's Ace Monster and Vrains seemingly switched from Firewall Dragon to Code Talker after the former was banned. The upper size limit of decks was brought into play in 2007, whilst Yu-Gi-Oh! GX ran until March of 2008, so I'm saying, yes, the extra deck size limit of 15 cards will apply here. And just so we're clear, we're only going to be looking at cards used by Jaden in the anime, and when he was, well, Jaden. So none of his vast heroes or other manga exclusive fusions, none of the evil heroes he used while in the Supreme King persona, and of course the two elemental hero fusions used by Astro Phoenix, those being Phoenix Enforcer and Shining Phoenix Enforcer, will also not count, as Jaden never owned or used those cards. Hell, if his reaction to Astro using them is any indication, he probably had no idea they even existed to begin with. Oh, and we're going to assume Jaden only has one copy of each of his fusion monsters, because the GX anime seems to treat every card as being the only copy a character has, outside of certain situations, or if the duelist straight up requires multiple copies in order to summon their boss monsters, like with Zane's Cyber End-Dragon. Alright then, with all that taken care of, let's go. So, let's start off with the fusions we see the most, i.e. the main staples of Jaden's deck, i.e. the 7 monsters he's fusion summoned the most, which are Flame Wingman, Thunder Giant, Rampart Blaster, Oddball Man, Wild Edge, Tempest, and Shining Flare Wingman, each of which having an ability that seemed to be solely dependent on what Jaden needed to do at that moment. Did he need to inflict a ton of damage? Flame Wingman. Did he need to destroy a bunch of monsters quickly? Wild Edge. Did he need defense? Oddball Man or Rampart Blaster. Did he need something obliterated? Thunder Giant. Pretty damn simple. But 7 monsters does not an extra deck make. Well, it does, kind of, but we're far from done. So let's see what else we've got as we move on to the one-off elemental hero fusions. In this we have Steam Healer, made from infusing Ballman and Basinatrix, Wild Wingman, made from Wild Heart and Avion, Plasma Vice, made from Sparkman and Blade Edge, Mariner, made from Avion and Boltman, Necroid Shaman, made from Necroshade and Wildheart, Darkbright, made from Sparkman and Necroshade, and Electrum, made from Boltman, Clayman, Avion, and Basinatrix. Quick side tangent, out of the base elemental heroes, anyone else think that Necroshade was kinda underused? I mean, yeah, its effect requires it to be in the graveyard, but it'd be nice to see Jaden summon it and use its fusions a little more. Anyways, this increases our total of fusion monsters by 7, giving us a total of, 14. And we're not even close to being done yet. Oh dear. And now for the ones you've probably been waiting for. Yes, we all know the Neospatians aren't good, but as a sister archetype to the Elemental Heroes and serving as support for his ace card, Elemental Hero Neos, you can be damn sure there's enough fusions that they added to his card pool. Well, some of you might argue that Jaden simply has 2 decks from this point onwards, one for his heroes and one for Neospatians. I'm gonna say no, he just has one deck that combines the two. While some of the video games do give him 2 decks, the anime clearly does not. Jaden simply has one deck composed of both archetypes. While there are a few duels from Season 2 onwards just from using either his heroes or his Neospatians, there's also quite a lot of duels where he uses cards from both. See his duel against Lorenzo in Season 2, and his duels against Professor Stein and Professor Viper in Season 3. So, as for those Neos fusions, we'd have one for every standard Neospatian, 3 that are formed from Neos and 2 Neospatians, and a few special cases that we'll get to in a bit. So, for the standard fusions, we have Air Neos, Aqua Neos, Dark Neos, Flare Neos, Glow Neos, and Grand Neos. The 3 triple contact fusions are Storm Neos, Chaos Neos, and Magma Neos. Combining that with our 6 standard ones gives us a total of 9 for the Neos contact fusions. Again, side tangent, in his rematch with Aster Phoenix, where Jaden performs a Neos contact fusion for the first time, Jaden says he can fuse his 2 monsters together without polymerization. To which Aster remarks that what Jaden did is against the rules somehow, seemingly forgetting that A, there's numerous other cards at the fusion summon at this point in time, and B, the A to Z archetype exists, as not only does fellow GX character Chaz Princeton has VWXYZ Dragon Catapult Cannon be one of his ace monsters, but one of that monster's components, XYZ Dragon Cannon, was one of the ace monsters of a certain Seto Kaiba, aka an incredibly famous CEO and duelist whose deck would no doubt be public knowledge and have legendary status on par with Yugimoto's. And now we come to the, well, I guess the oddball fusions, i.e. those that don't fit into the other 2 camps we've discussed earlier. First up, we have the 3 Season 4 exclusive fusions, Neos Wiseman, Rainbow Neos, and Divine Neos. Neos Wiseman is deliberately meant to be a fusion of Jaden's 2 closest spirit monsters, Neos and Yabel. Even better, Jaden used Wing Karibo as a cost to bring out one of the components, essentially being a fusion of all 3 of his dual spirits. Rainbow Neos is Neos combined with Rainbow Dragon, symbolizing the relationship between Jaden and Jesse Anderson. Both versions insist it's just a friendship, but I think we all know what's really going on. Your Honor, there is literally no heterosexual explanation for this. Let the record show they are totally gay for each other. And finally, Divine Neos is the ultimate form of Elemental Hero Neos, which Jaden busts out to defeat the big bad of Season 4. Oh, there's also the Bonds Beyond Time exclusive fusion Neos Knight. While in the movie it was formed by fusing Jaden's Neos with Yusei Fudo's Junk Gardener, in the actual card tags it says you just need Neos in any other warrior type monster. Given how half of Jaden's deck is warriors, I'm going to err on the side of caution and say he picked this card up at the same time he got the other Neos fusions. I mean, his extra deck is already insanely bloated at this point, what's one more extra card gonna do? Oh, and now we have some rather interesting cases in the form of the advanced Neospatians, Marine Dolphin, and Twinkle Moss. These 2 were probably going to serve as the start of a new series of evolved Neospatians in the actual TCG, but that never really happened, so these 2 are all we have. They can only be summoned by tributing their lesser forms with the card Nex, or NEX, or however you pronounce it, and both of these are fusion monsters themselves. Don't think about it too hard. And as they're Neospatians, that means they both have unique Neos fusions, right? Well, yes and no. Only Marine Dolphin never fused with Neos in the anime. Twinkle Moss never did. In fact, a fusion between Elemental Hero Neos and Neospatian Twinkle Moss doesn't exist. It was never printed. Weird. Anyways, that's 3 more fusions for our count. Marine Dolphin, Twinkle Moss, and Elemental Hero Marine Neos. Now, you think we'd be all done and we could just need to tally everything up, right? Yeah, no. there's one more card, and it's quite the obscure one. In Yu-Gi-Oh, there is a card called Metamorphosis. What this does is allow you to tribute a monster to bring out a fusion monster of the same level. This simple effect is deceptively powerful, allowing players to bypass once per turn limits by tributing fusion monsters to bring out another copy of themselves, or to cheat out their best fusions quickly, and as such, it's been banned since 2007. Jaden can't really do this, as all his elemental hero fusions require them to be fusion summoned first, meaning that he can't cheat them out this way. However, he does have Neo Ballman, a card that requires regular Ballman to be tributed using Metamorphosis in order to be summoned. Yet, in his first duel with Astro Phoenix, where the latter was using a deck formed of random cards left over from booster packs, Jaden plays Metamorphosis, not to upgrade Ballman into Neo Ballman, but to upgrade Clayman into Clay Guardian. Looking closely, we can see that Clay Guardian has a light purple border, making it a fusion monster, and thus we have to consider it for our final tally. Fun fact, this is the only hero card seen in the anime that is yet to receive a physical print. No doubt because it requires a banned card in order to be played. So, with all that out of the way, how big is Jaden's extra deck, and does he need to downsize? Well, we have 14 regular elemental hero fusions, 10 Neos Contact fusions, 4 other Neos fusions, and 3 Oddballs, those being Clay Guardian, Twinkle Moss, and Marine Dolphin. This all gives us a grand total of 31 cards, which means, Mr. Jaden Yuki, your extra deck is more than twice the legally sanctioned limit. You are henceforth banned from dueling until you downsize. Thanks for watching.